Iko Nini, ikiwa ni episode 204. Tukisema like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend. Yeah, alafu leo niko na like one of those interesting sessions zile niko sure una look forward to, because niko na Apostle Helen. I just know your first name.
Joseph Helen.
Oh, it's Joseph Helen. Yeah.
Joseph Helen, yes.
There's no like some African name starting.
There used to be, but you see now you've got a brand.
Yeah.
When you're a musician, you use the brand.
Yeah.
The brand sells. The others just confuse people.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's what's on the ID, and then there is what we call the brand. So Joseph Helen is the brand.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But it's something different on the idea.
It's not so different, really. Actually, those were my original names.
Okay.
My father gave me Joseph Helen when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And then later discovered that there was a Joseph he didn't like.
Yeah.
So he quickly changed Joseph to Nimrod.
Oh.
So if you remember from high school,
Mm.
from high school days, my name was actually Nimrod Helen
Oh, okay.
Onyango.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we share the Onyango name, eh?
Nimrod Helen Onyango.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. But Joseph Helen was the original one, but my father changed it when I was in class 8? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Joseph Helen is what I'm known.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. Another thing that maybe a few people don't know about us is we are both ex-Starehians.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've even had people joke here, like, you like talking so much about Starehe. Why do you think like people who went to Starehe love talking about Starehe?
First, that was a great school, probably the greatest school on this side of Sahara, according to my opinion. That was a great school from its inception to the kind of training you were taken through and the things you were exposed to. I remember one specific time in assembly when the founder of Starehe started teaching us how to survive if we dropped out of school.
Yeah.
Think about that. How to cook, how to get a little house somewhere, how to pay rent, how to apply for work. You know, we were prepared for life. It was not just an educational institution. It was almost an apprentice. You were almost an understudy of a successful person as you studied the languages and the arts and the sciences and mathematics and the like. So we can't stop talking about it because it was a great school, great idea. And of course, we came out independent, opinionated, and successful.
Yeah. Because I remember the career talks.
Yeah.
And one of the things that actually stood out in the Thursday career talks was...
Oh, yes, the career talks.
Yeah. When Griffin talked about how, like, doing weddings is not necessary. That stayed with me. Like, he was telling people, like, you should never start a family with debt. I don't know if
I remember
he had the
that.
same...
Do you know I still hold on to that school of thought to date? See, I'm a preacher.
Yeah.
Apart from being a businessman and an entertainer, combinations that sometimes people find almost unpalatable. That you're an entertainer, you're a businessman, and then you're also clergy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, those are the things we learned in Sarai. Anything is possible. And I remember him saying clearly that you don't need to borrow money or get into serious debt to get married.
Yeah.
You start the way you are and you can build things up. And to date, in places where I preach, I tell young people, if you want to get married, what you need is a husband if you're a woman and a wife if you're a man. And then the rest you can build up as you go along. You don't need to strain yourself with budgets that you cannot afford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what would you say about the present Starehe? Because I think someone once asked me that if I had to criticize or find anything wrong with Griffin, like what would I find he ever did wrong? And I said, every human, there's no human that's perfect. So my the example I gave was when I was in Starehe, I was not like the best student. I used to be naughty. So once in a while
and you know what? Starehe actually gave provision for naughty people.
Yeah.
Because naughty people are smart people.
Yeah.
You see, I liked that about him.
Yeah. But now, when I left the school, eventually, when I looked at my living certificate, he'd written that I works best under supervision. And that's not me. Like, that was the teenage me, needed supervision. The grown me needs nothing. Like, I do everything myself. So, what did you find that maybe Griffin did that was not perfect? Because for me, judging a man by what he does in his teenagehood, I feel like that does not make sense.
Well, apart from the fact that we all revered him as a great man. He started something from scratch, and that thing helped a lot of people, thousands of people. He wasn't, like all human beings, perfect. So he made many mistakes. For example, he nearly aborted my career.
Oh, okay.
He told me, are you going to spend, you know how he used to talk, putting his hands here? Are you going to spend the rest of your life playing the saxophone in a smoky pub? Little devil, go, go, go.
Go, go, go,
So
go.
he wanted to stop me from playing the saxophone because he wanted me to be a medical doctor.
Yeah.
I was good in sciences. Let me tell you something. I don't think I've told anybody this thing. When Dr. Griffin and the rest of the staff put me under pressure to go for medicine rather than music, do you know what I did? In Form 3, I stopped reading. Because I wanted to do music. So I focused on music. And if you look at my leaving certificate, he wrote, he spent too much time harnessing his musical gift at the expense of other subjects. And that was true. The reason I did that was intentional, because he didn't want me to be a musician. He said nobody ever succeeded as a musician. But I was looking at the world in a global perspective, not just from the local perspective. And he nearly aborted my saxophone. That has been my key to success consistently. So I stopped reading too hard because I didn't want to get the A's in those sciences so that I'm quickly sponsored to go to some place to study medicine. I wanted to study music. So even though he was great in many ways, he misread a lot of students, me included. But I liked one thing. He allowed differing opinions. He could disagree with you without punishing you. So even though he said about you that you worked best under supervision, which wasn't true, and even though he said that I needed to be a medical doctor, not a musician, which was not really my calling, he still did great things for us. So I think all human beings underrate or underestimate others. So I wouldn't really chide him for that.
And I also think, like, even in your case, he did it out of a place of love. He felt like if you become a doctor, you're going to be more successful, more what than a musician.
That's what he had seen. He had never seen a musician, from Starehe especially, that made it big.
And so how did you end up joining, like, the music club? Because Starehe had a lot of clubs. And the music club, if you told me that someone would reach the heights you've reached, because I think you're the only Starehean who I know who has reached those heights.
Yes, that's true.
Having created their base from the school band. Like, how did you end up joining the school band? Why?
From childhood, I was always a good musician. I started with singing in the local church. In fact, I used to be the choir master of a local church. And I didn't even know that the amount of music I knew in primary school was so high, because we used to do the Handel's Messiah and all those things. We trained the choirs on how to, we actually learned to read music from the church. And we'd have all these music competitions and music festivals. So when I came to Starehe, that was the last Friday, when people are now selecting, when people are being taken to their various classes. So we went for this music test with a gentleman called Jim Pywell. I don't think you met him.
I didn't.
He probably joined after he left. And Miss Richardson. So they took us through, and Mrs. Shivembe. I think that one might still be there in Starehe up to today. So they took us through these rhythmic tests. So they found I was quite musical. And my head teacher from my former primary school had also written that I had an extraordinary musical gift. So that got Dr. Griffin's attention. So anyway, after they found out that I qualified to join the music class, the F class, I was immediately given the Inter-House Music Festival set piece. And I taught it in about 2 weeks. And ours was the only house that could read and translate that music. So it shocked me that as a Form 1, I was able to do what Form 4s could not do. In fact, I remember going to all the 8 houses, then there were 8 houses, helping train the different houses in the set piece for the Inter-House Music Competition. From that time onwards, I knew there was something about me and music that was not ordinary.
Oh, okay. And there's always been the rumor that Starehe used to perform well during Griffin days because we had leakage, yes? And then, of course, Griffin passed and our performance dipped a little bit. So why do you think our performance dipped? Because, of course, we didn't have leakage. That was just a stupid rumor that used to go around.
If you succeed, for example, if you make money, they'll say you stole.
Yeah.
People have never really associated success with morality.
Yeah.
People always think if you succeed in some way, if you're a great athlete, you're doping, it's only a matter of time before you're caught, something like that. If you make good money, they will never acknowledge your business acumen, your entrepreneurial skills. They'll always say, oh, it's your uncle who did it for you, or you worked in government and got a tender, you're a tenderpreneur, stuff like that. There was no cheating in Starehe. That was an institution that was impeccably honest.
Yeah.
Honest to a fault. Now, the reason, according to my opinion, Starehe has dipped in its performance is because the founder, Dr. Griffin himself, lived in the school, and 24 hours a day, he was looking at the interests of the students, looking at their academic performances. If you remember, he would call you to his office to discuss if you, for example, if you slackened in one subject, even if you're Form 1, if he saw that your English was going down, he would call you himself. So he paid particular attention to every particular student. Why? He was not a family man. He was fully dedicated to the institution. What I think has bedeviled Starehe, especially posthumously after Dr. Griffin died, is the fact that he did not do proper succession. He did not train a successor of his caliber. He trained successors of family caliber. A family person cannot dedicate 100% of their attention to an institution like that, especially an institution whose majority see you as their father and mother.
Oh, okay.
Other institutions are not like Starehe, because Starehe takes care of very poor students.
Yeah.
And if you're dealing with very poor students, they need that thing he said about you, very active supervision.
Yeah.
Because of extremes. You come from such a poor environment that if you're exposed to good things, you can go overboard. So his very specific supervision of every individual student is what helped hone the success of Starehe. When these other people came in, who would want to spend the weekends with their families rather than with the students, or who would want a holiday, 3 weeks or so, with their families rather than with the students, then of course that attention that was focused on Starehe somewhat became less. Another thing is that ambitious people will want to build their own lives and futures instead of just building Starehe.
Yeah.
But Dr. Griffin's life was Starehe, and Starehe was his life. So I personally think, I could be wrong, but I personally think that if we got maybe a Catholic priest who doesn't have to fend for a family, and who can stay there, 365 days a year, the way Dr. Griffin did, I think Starehe would shoot back up. A person who doesn't have ambitions for aggrandizement, they don't have ambitions to make big money, to be successful, to leave something for the children. You see, I think it's unfair on those who are running the institution today because they can't give it 100% attention, which was what its foundational value proposition was. Its success was based on 100% attention from the top leader or the top leadership. That is not possible. In fact, Starehe was like 20 to 30, not Starehe, Dr. Griffin was like 20 to 30 people in one man.
Yeah.
Do you see? So I think the people who've been running the institution have tried, even if they've had issues here and there. But it would be unfair to expect from them what a single man whose singular ambition in life was to educate boys, especially boys from poor backgrounds. So for me, succession seems to be what has messed up Starehe. Poor succession.
Do you think maybe, because I'd say he died young, he died at 63?
Yes.
So do you think maybe that was the case? Maybe he didn't feel like he needed to appoint a successor or even have like a detailed succession plan?
The trouble with the highly effective people is that if they don't let go, they always die with their successes. History will bear me witness. Most highly successful people, for example, Nelson Mandela. very good example. Highly successful, highly effective.
Yeah.
They tend not to know what to do in their absence. They just tend not to know. Do you see? So somewhat it's as if it's a pitfall we have to live with in the world, that when somebody is extremely extraordinary, whether in science, whether in politics, or Mother Teresa, for example, who has succeeded her? Who is it that is in the place of Mother Teresa right now?
Yeah.
That we can talk about at the same level as Mother Teresa. They seem to be larger than life. They seem to know so much. And then they also tend to have trust issues. Because any person that comes around you will not have as much ambition as you. So it becomes difficult to trust them with the task at hand. So they end up doing everything themselves. Do you see? And when they die, the institution suffers. So I think maybe to mitigate that, it would be important for highly effective people and people of that caliber to go through some form of counseling, just to help them let go. It's hard for them to let go. So they will not train you lest you take over.
Yeah.
They also have insecurities. A very crazy thing about success, that successful people tend to develop this narcissistic insecurity. You know, they have a bloated opinion about what ought to be done, and they feel someone else can't do it as well as they could. Yeah. So we are now back to systems. So they usually fail in systems. Their systems are not tailor-made in a way that will outlive them.
Yeah.
Because they won't trust anyone else. Of course, nobody can operate like you. The standard might go slightly lower, but if you trust them and train them, they'll rise up probably even better than you. As a person who believes in the Bible, we are told that our children should be greater than us. And they can only be greater than us if you do what Jesus did. He trained 12 disciples. Even though one was a thief and betrayed him, he didn't care. He still trained him anyway. Yeah. Yeah? And the Bible says he used to steal money. But he was still trained anyway. When Jesus left, these guys did a better job than him. In fact, he said, greater things than these you shall do. So I think if you follow that model, then the issues that are messing up with Starehe or any other great institution that's run by a highly effective people can be mitigated.
Yeah. Okay. So moving from Starehe, let's talk about now the time that I came to learn about you.
Yes.
I don't know which year this was. Was this 2009? There's a time when you are in the media.
Yes.
Like every day.
2010.
So, 2010
was the year. Yes.
Okay. So like how this interview came about was last week you released a song, yes?
Yes.
And I made a joke about it, which I didn't think you'd find any. So it's like this guy is singing like he's forgotten how much he missed, like we've forgotten how much he missed Esther Arunga.
Yeah.
So am I the first person to say that? Like you missed Esther Arunga?
A lot of people say that I did.
Yeah.
I find that information or that statement shallow because it's not based on proper research.
Yeah.
But I grant people the right to their opinion because I'm a public figure.
Yeah.
Being a public figure, I will be discussed whether favorably or negatively.
Okay.
That's granted.
Yeah.
I only put my foot down when people infringe on my rights and my freedoms. In that case, of course, I can sue people. I can get redress.
Yeah.
And that I've done even with the Kenyan government.
Yeah.
Soon after that matter settled, I actually sued the Kenyan government for illegal arrest, illegal prosecution, and illegal incarceration.
Yeah. So I want us to rewind a little bit,
Yes.
and so I can give you my reasoning of the story.
Yes.
A lot of people know that around that time, Esther Arunga was the biggest news anchor. Yes, and she was a rising star.
Yes.
And the reason why we do those connections is she ended up marrying someone who most of us felt like was not in her league. I don't know if that makes sense. So, because I've even always joked about his name, like Quincy Timberlake. I feel like it's such a whatever name. It's such a red flag, the name itself.
Yes.
So now she joins your church. That's how I'm assuming it was called the Finger of God.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
The Finger of God is still there. That's the ministry I run internationally. Yes. Yeah.
So she joins this, and through there, she ends up getting a husband who was also part of the church, and then her life just spirals down, where she ends up leaving the country she's accused of murder, he's accused of murder, and her life just goes booyaka.
Yeah.
And now we're there thinking, like, if she hadn't joined the finger of God, maybe all this wouldn't have happened. So, how did she end up joining the church? If you could
First,
I'll
start with the last statement you made, that if she hadn't joined, maybe all these things wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
You know, that's like saying that hospitals shouldn't have mortuaries.
Yeah.
That if you come to a hospital, the doctors should do everything in their power to ensure that no one ever dies. So we need to ban mortuaries from hospitals. Interestingly, people pay even after somebody dies. It doesn't mean that the hospital has a problem.
Yeah.
Church is like a hospital. Jesus said the ones who are well don't need a doctor. It's the sick that need a doctor. So any person that comes to a religious institution, especially a church, is welcome. Whether they are good or bad, that's how it is made.
Yeah.
That's the place for those that are looking for help. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of the story. Quincy Timberlake was my primary school desk mate. Primary school desk mate. Up country where I grew up, a school called Kokoro Primary School. And if somebody were to go and look at the details of the institution, they'll find his name there. He was my desk mate and also my neighbor.
That's his real name, Quincy Timberlake?
No, that's a name he changed later.
Yeah.
By the way, according to law, you can do something called a deed poll and actually change your name. So he changed his name for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Best known to him.
Yeah.
And
what was his original name, if you remember it?
He was called Joginda Singh.
He was called Joginda Singh?
Yes.
Like after the...
He was named after
the rally driver?
Yes.
Oh, no.
That was his original name.
That's so interesting. Like, I think that's why he changed his name.
That was his original name, Joginda Singh. Yep.
Oh.
I remember his grandfather who raised him. I don't know what happened to his father. So he was raised by his grandfather. He used to shout at him, Joginda Singh, and he would run. He used to run a lot. So because of his speed, that's how the grandfather ended up naming him Joginda Singh.
Yeah.
You know, in likeness to the rally driver.
So even in school, he was called Joginda Singh.
That was his name.
Like even the name that appeared on his first ID.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
So then I do Tasker Project Fame. I was the music director there.
Yeah.
And having been trained in music, especially because of the Starehe background. So this guy sees me in Tasker Project Fame and then reaches out through Facebook and says, hey, I can see you're doing great and all that. Do you remember me? I said, I don't remember any Quincy Timberlake. He said, oh, originally I was called Joginda Singh. I said, perfect. I remember my desk mate. I remember you very well. He said, I'm in the United States. I would like to visit the country and talk to you about some music projects that I do. Of course, he was lying.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that then. You have to cut people slack until they prove themselves right or wrong. So I said, okay, come on. I remember you. We were desk mates and we were even neighbors back home.
Was he even in America? Because that's how much I don't trust him.
He wasn't in the United States. Okay. He was somewhere in Kayole as he was doing all this. So, I did my due diligence too. I never rush into conclusions.
Yeah.
I do my own investigations and I arrive at the truth so that I don't practice prejudice. Yeah. So the guy shows up and we meet and he says, oh, I'm working with Pepsi Cola, all these things, we could, because you're a great musician, we could get you connected to all these things. And I didn't have any reason to blame him or to doubt him. And I started getting phone calls from people who purported to be from Pepsi Cola, and I met people, mostly white, with briefcases, and they looked like they were serious, and they took my details, and we were supposed to do some great music thing. By then, I had been training Esther Arunga. Yeah, I am a coach. I'm a career coach. One of the things sometimes people don't know about me, that I'm a career coach. So when Esther Arunga was reading business news only, she was already part of our ministry. Yeah. In fact, we founded a ministry together. And there are many things we're doing together, including a music publishing company called People Music Group that we started with her, etc. We run many businesses together, especially her being my cousin, paternal cousin. You see, now that's something you didn't know. Yeah. So she was my cousin. So after starting a program called WATA, Way to the Aisle, with Esther, and I was training her then in poise, in communication, because of my knowledge of the English language.
Yeah.
And communication. So I taught her in poise and all that. I even taught her how to cut down weight. Those days at KTN, you needed to be slim.
Yeah.
Like Beatrice Marshall, if you remember. Yeah, they insisted that the news anchor should be slim. So I took her through our weight loss program. She wasn't really big, but she wanted to cut down.
Why would they insist on that? If I can
Because of
interrupt
outlook.
You? Yeah.
Perception.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
those are the days when if you are big, you are not that beautiful.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you're curvy, people appreciate you. But those days, you need to be slim.
Yeah.
That was the policy then. She's the one who told me.
Oh.
So I took her through the right diet and all that. She cut down weight, taught her how to pronounce certain English words. And she became so successful as a result. And that's when she was promoted to become a news anchor, reading news at 9. Okay? Most people don't know that story.
Yeah.
So I participated in her media success. Then we started this. Then, of course, during all that time, she was in the ministry, Finger of God.
Yeah.
All that time. And she brought a lot of media people to the ministry that I took care of. Very many different people.
Because even before we continue that, that would be because I remember there were a lot of celebrities apart from her. Eh?
Yes, very many.
Which other celebrities are there?
I don't want to mention their names, just in case they feel uncomfortable.
Oh, okay.
Since I did not. Yeah, I respect people.
Yeah, and also know KTN changed its policy because we saw Linda Ogutu after. So.
Yes, you see. So I don't want somebody who still has issues with
from
Finger
those
of
days.
God, thinking I'm associating them with something they don't want to be part of.
Yeah,
you understand?
Okay.
So I'd rather not mention their names.
So the ones who used to come from the media, it was also for as a career coach.
They liked the program we were running. It was called Way to the Aisle, teaching people how to get into relationships that lead to marriage. And a lot of people got married whose marriages are successful to date. The only marriage that seemed to go south was Esther's and 2 other people. In my entire career as a counselor, only 3 marriages that I counseled have failed. The rest have been successful. But of course, media will not talk about success.
Yeah, we know.
They only talk about failure.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Quincy shows up and I don't know exactly what he did to Esther. He came and told me the truth. He said, I've not lived an upright life. I can see you're also a preacher. I just thought you were a musician.
Yeah.
I've not lived an upright life. I've involved myself in a lot of witchcraft and things like that. But I want to be part of the ministry. I want to be like you. Because I can see your life is in order.
Yeah.
You see, you're quite successful. People are following you and the like. I said, why not? That's why the church is here. Everybody comes with a problem. So if that's your problem and you're owning up and you want us to help you, you're most welcome. I couldn't have told him, go away. We don't entertain witches here. He said he had been practicing witchcraft.
Yeah.
Okay? He said it. And he wanted help. And he said he's used that to mess people's lives. He told me.
Okay. Yeah. And I think his witchcraft was good because if he convinced you he was in the US or in Kayole, he was good.
Yeah, but look, the guy convinced a whole embassy, Australian embassy, that he was being persecuted by the government and actually got permanent residence in Australia.
In Australia.
If we could successfully convince Australian embassy here to give him and Esther residence, then he was smart.
Yeah,
he was good at witchcraft.
Yeah.
And I usually give people their, credit. If you're good in crime, you're good. Yeah. So
Joginder Singh was good.
He was good. So so anyway, he convinced Esther to tell me that both of them were in Wollongong University in Australia. And they were actually in a relationship. I told Esther, wait, you never told me this story. You tell me a lot of things, especially about past relationships. You never told me there was a relationship between you and Quincy at all.
Before?
Yes.
He convinced us to say they were in a relationship before.
Yeah, and so Esther is the one that comes to tell me, oh my goodness, you know this guy. I said, but this was my desk mate. Say, wait a minute, small world. This was my boyfriend in Wollongong University. But I don't know, the witchcraft he did on the girl made the girl believe they were in the same university. So who was I to doubt her? I actually doubted her. I did. I said, wait, it's not adding up. But she was persistent. Esther was stubborn.
Yeah.
If she took a certain angle, you could never, ever convince her. Yeah? By then, Esther was living in my house. How did she end up in my house in Runda?
Yeah.
Because we were relatives. And we were running this program together and doing a lot of business together. And I had 10 bedrooms.
Yeah.
A huge place. Her own mother and brother brought her over to our house inspected the place, met my wife, looked at the room and said, wow. And that's when she moved from her mother's house in Kilimani to our house in Runda. Her mother said yes. Yeah. And by then, even if she didn't say yes, the girl was 32 years old. She was 31 then.
Yeah.
Then she moved in. She only stayed with me for about a year and 6 months before all these things started happening. So if the mother said yes, the brother said yes, who was a medical doctor, the brother's wife was there. They used to come to me for counseling as well, the mother plus the sons. They used to come to me for counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when Esther brings this story, I began to think, okay, well, it could still be a small world then, but I didn't really fully believe it.
So she went to that university?
Yeah, she studied law and French in Wollongong University. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and graduated and came back to Kenya. So yes, she attended Wollongong. Yeah, I hope I'm getting it right. The university in Australia. Yeah. I'll fact check, but I think it's Wollongong University.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, so what's going on? By then she was engaged to Wilson, who was one of the leaders of the church then, Wilson Malaba. She said, you know what, I'm breaking the relationship between me and Wilson because of personal issues she had raised with me, but I don't like to talk about such things in public. A counselor is supposed to
keep secrets.
To keep secrets, you know.
Yeah, confidentiality.
And stuff like that. So there are things I would never talk about unless I'm permitted by those, you know, I counseled. So she said, you know what, let me break off because you know, I want to get back to the original relationship I had with this guy.
Yeah.
And this guy was promising big things. He had a sweet tongue together with his witchcraft.
Yeah.
He was promising big things. So they got into a relationship. Now, the church members raised the matter with me. Said, this guy is ish, you know. I told them, well, you are attacking him too soon. You had problems too, and we gave you time to grow. Let's give him about 6 months and observe him together and see if the things you're saying about him are true, we will kick him out.
Yeah.
Or we'll see what to do. Well, by then, the father had spoken to one senior politician who then quickly talked to DCI, and I was promptly arrested. And then I was accused of running a cult, that I brought Esther into the cult. I convinced her to quit her good job to join the cult, not knowing that she was working at KTN when she was a member of Finger of God, which is not a cult. Yeah, it's a ministry like any other, duly registered. Yeah.
If we could go back a little bit.
Yes.
So he convinces her they're in the same university.
Yes.
How long did it take her to now quit the job for even the dad now to get involved? Because I think as long as he's still 2 weeks.
It took 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Remember, Quincy shows up, and in exactly 2 weeks, I'm arrested. 2 weeks is not sufficient time for you to do proper due diligence on anyone. Yeah, all these things happened in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Okay, but I remember you had a political party. This political party, everything is in 2 weeks.
That started after.
But, after the arrest now.
Yes, so Esther and I wanted to do politics together as well. We were doing a lot of businesses together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apart from her media career, we were doing music together. We actually recorded a lot of artists in our recording studio called People Music Group. Yeah. And then, of course, we were running the Way to the Aisle, a counseling outfit for those that wanted to get married and also for those who had already been married. We still do.
Yeah.
We still do these things. It's part of my calling. Those who follow me on social media know that every Wednesday I talk about marriage, relationships, and family. Consistently, I've been consistent about that. So Quincy shows up. Within 1 week,
she quit her job.
Yeah, she's quit her job. Yeah, because Quincy says, I'm going to give you bigger things. Why are you reading news? Little money. Yeah, she quit. And then the mother comes to us and says, look, I think there's something wrong with this relationship.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife telling Esther's mom that if Esther is adamant about this boy, don't fight her. if you fight her, you'll be cementing the relationship. That's how women are. When they love somebody, even if the person is a thug, leave them alone. Let them see for themselves. If you fight her, she'll think the man is her only savior, like Romeo and Juliet story.
Yeah.
My wife told Esther's mom that in our house, in the presence of Esther, Esther's elder brother, who is a medical doctor, Esther's and his wife.
Yeah.
And then Esther's mom actually said, okay. You see, that day I advised Esther. I said, look, this thing it seems to be upsetting your parents, and I don't want that. I'm for family.
Yeah.
I think you need to leave and go back to your mother. And she actually left and went back to her mother.
Yeah.
The next day, she shows up. I said, what happened? I thought we agreed you're supposed to now stay with your mom. She said, I'm a 32-year-old adult, and nobody should tell me how to live my life. I said, I agree fully. We can't control a 32-year-old.
Yeah.
In fact, we shouldn't even control a 19-year-old. They're adults. They answer for themselves.
Yeah.
Do you see? So she continued pursuing the relationship. We had already wanted to do politics together. So it looks as if Quincy was studying my life and feeding Esther with those things that we used to do. How he's going to help us get funds for this politics. He's the one who came up with that crazy, horrible name. That was not mine. It was not my idea.
It was called
Placenta.
Placenta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one who came up with it. Because he became the chairman of the party. I was going to be the presidential candidate. So he was riding on my ambitions. You get it?
Yeah.
And then within those 2 weeks, we get arrested because they wanted to rescue Esther from this cult.
Yeah.
Okay? Esther is arrested together with us. And then we are promptly taken to court. Esther was not taken to court. She was taken to a shrink, Dr. Jenga. Dr. Jenga's Chiromo Medical Center. That's where she was taken. They injected her with something called Lagactil or something, which is used to pacify mad people. So it's until she came back to us that we gave her an antidote, from Mathare Hospital, by the way, an antidote that removes that. If you notice some of the media interviews we did, she had slurred speech. She wasn't herself. She looked like in a stupor. And I was the one accused of having drugged her when that thing was administered at Chiromo Medical Center. Okay? And we are the ones who took her to another shrink who gave her the antidote, and she got back to normal.
Yeah.
So I was arrested together with my wife, my brothers, a cook, and a business partner. Oh, yeah, and somebody who came to do my wife's hair that night.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wrong place, wrong time. Eh?
Yeah, that was just wrong location. So they accused me of running a brothel. I was living with all these girls.
Yeah.
These were my family members, my brothers. Yeah. If you go and look at the details of the people who were arrested, they were my family members, a hairdresser, a cook, and a business partner. Yeah. So they did the investigations and found that there was no such thing as a cult. There was no such thing as a brothel. I was not dealing in ivory. I was not dealing in drugs, and I was not dealing in firearms. Those are the things I was accused of. The matter was dismissed for lack of evidence.
Yeah.
After that, I promptly sued the government. By then, I had finished my investigations on Quincy myself and found out that he was a common conman from Kayole who had a wife and 3 kids prior to Esther.
Ooh, I think I saw that last week.
Yeah.
There's a Facebook post
Yes.
that was posted. I think it's by a guy called Mugoki. Is it
Yes,
Mugoki?
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yes, he'd
They
written
tried to
about her.
contact me about taking care of those kids.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
none of my business. I'll say that openly. I have my own children to take care of.
Yeah,
Every person should take care of their own kids. And if they can't, they should take them to a children's home. Full stop. So I should not be involved in such things. That I will say a resounding no to. Yeah. So I found out the guy was crazy, a cheap conman who had never been to any of those countries he talked about. I found that he was in cahoots with some witches somewhere in Hurlingham, and they had a syndicate that was conning people in the most sophisticated way. He was a cyber criminal.
Yeah.
So he used his extraordinary ability to crack into networks. He would crack even into government systems. by the way.
Okay.
He was extremely good. If it came to computers, you give it to him. He used that to con people. So he would talk to you as if he's some great person from another part of the world. Like, I'm Larry King. He would crack into his system and communicate with you. By the time they're discovering and sorting out the matter, he's already conned you. Do you see? I think that's how he ended up conning the Australian embassy as well.
Yeah.
That he did successfully. That's why he ended up in Australia. So I told Esther, these are my findings, my dear. This is who this man is. So what people have been saying about him is actually true. Now Esther turned against me. He said, if you're not going to accept Quincy, I will have nothing to do with you. She said, you've joined my parents too. You know how my parents got me arrested? Now you've joined them as well? Helen, I trusted you. Those were her words. If you're not going to accept Quincy, I will have nothing to do with you. Then they were staying in my house. Remember, these things happened in 2 weeks. But it looks like it happened over years. Just 2 weeks. So this is a year. This is now December. After I have got all of us out of trouble, paid bails and all those things, and the hearing is going on. And I said, look, I found out who this guy is. He's a con man. And he has not stopped the witchcraft that he told me he wanted to stop to become a Christian, to get saved and all that. Esther said, if you're not going to accept this man, I don't want to have anything to do with you. And that's how we parted ways. They packed their things and left my house. And left.
Because what I don't understand is how long after did you have the placenta party? Because I feel like the placenta party lasted for more than 2 weeks.
Yes, of course. We continued pursuing this political thing.
Even after you'd...
No, then I was still doing my due diligence on this guy. Remember, the politics was about Esther and me, not really Quincy. But he wanted to be part of it because now he's the one going to marry Esther.
Going to be the second gentleman.
Exactly. So for about 9 months, we pursued that political interest. In fact, I remember we used to campaign against the Constitution just for political expediency. You know how politics is.
You see the irony in a party called Placenta pursuing it for 9 months, okay.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. But anyway, what's wrong with calling something a kidney or a placenta or a toe? Like the way they were saying that I was calling the church finger of God. They were wondering why finger of God? Because finger of God stands for the Holy Spirit, who is in charge of the church. That's in Luke chapter 11 verse 20. People didn't even think that was in the Bible. You know, when people criticize you, they tend to do it in a narrow-minded way. I am an intelligent man, that I can tell you. I can't do stupid things. I do my due diligence before I act, which is why I'm still here. People would think I'd be gone, you know. Probably I would have failed in life. No way. Not with the kind of brain God gave me and the kind of grace God has given me. So finger of God is the Holy Spirit, another name for the Holy Spirit. You see, it is an epithet or another name for the Holy Spirit. There is no church without him. So anyone who questions the name of the church is dull and uninformed when it comes to scriptural matters. We preach the Bible. So if you reject what's in the Bible, then I don't know which Bible you read. It's as simple as
because I've never had anyone say the finger of God and the Holy Spirit.
But it's written. God wrote the 10 Commandments using the finger of God. He gave the 10 Commandments to Moses, written by the finger of God. The magicians in Egypt told Pharaoh, don't fight against this man. You are fighting the finger of God. It's all over the Bible. Just people don't read. I always encourage people to read. Read a bit more. It doesn't cost much. Use your phone, do a bit of research. I like what you did. After getting to contact me on Facebook, you said, I want to talk to you face to face. That's what intelligent people do. So you get the information from the horse's mouth. And if I'm contradicting myself, you get an occasion to take me on. So that was the story. I quit the placenta party because Quincy was the chairman. He was using it to con people. He wasn't really interested in politics that day.
I know.
You get that? And then, of course, after that, he lied to the Australian embassy. They both left the country and went out there. He committed that homicide thing by killing his own child. That's got nothing to do with me.
I know.
After they left me in 2010 December. 2010 December.
That's when they traveled out.
They did trouble the next year, 2011. After that, I've never been in contact with Esther. There's a time I sent one of my colleagues who was visiting Australia. I sent her to go find out what was going on just after the death of their child. She refused to see her. So people say, oh, how come you're not reaching out to Esther? She doesn't want to talk to me. Because she said, I'm not supporting Quincy for that reason. I've become her enemy. Yeah, but we're relatives.
Oh, okay.
So that's the story. So you tell me, who messed up Esther's life? A 32-year-old.
Okay, I think it's okay. I'd say the
Let them
placenta
judge.
party then.
Let them judge.
Yeah.
Let them judge.
Let
And
them
again,
judge.
why only Esther? I have, I can tell you openly,
Yeah.
one of the people I've mentored
Yeah.
in journalism, yeah, I can tell you a number of people I've mentored, but one specific one that I'm going to talk about might actually shock you.
Yeah.
The royal voice. Yeah, Johnson Mwakazi.
Oh, Johnson
It's one of my
Mwakazi.
mentees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we are successful when we mentor people. But if one person's story goes wrong and they so appeared to have been so popular, you cannot say that because one person died at Nairobi Hospital, then Nairobi Hospital has a problem. Yeah? You cannot say because somebody got messed up in a church, then the church is horrible.
Yeah.
I was investigated for 1.5 years by the Cyber Crimes Unit, Special Crimes Unit, Flying Squad Unit, Logistics Department of the CIDs, and there's a fifth one. All the departments, no NIS. Those guys were investigating me. Guess what? They go to court and not one single wrong thing was found. Interestingly, media conveniently won't report that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Which is why I quickly, promptly sued the government for illegal arrest, illegal incarceration, and illegal prosecution after the matter was thrown out. And I have even made public the ruling of the magistrate concerning the matter. Yeah.
What was the ruling?
The ruling was, you cannot wake up one morning, go to somebody's house, arrest people living in a house, charge them when they have not committed any crime. Because I was accused of running an illegal society.
Yeah.
The finger of God is duly registered. And the certificate of registration was presented to court. The case was thrown out. That was it.
Okay.
For lack of evidence. They couldn't prove your account because, see, this is 1.5 years of prosecution. They couldn't prove any of the things they accused us of. And I would quickly state that if a woman chooses a thug, it's her choice. There's nothing criminal about that. You cannot break somebody's marriage because they're marrying a bank smoker. You cannot break somebody's marriage because they're marrying a criminal. If the person they're marrying is a criminal, that criminal should be charged based on their crime, not on their marriage.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any right or authority to break this relationship. And I wasn't a matchmaker either. I've never match-made anyone. Yeah.
But since they're relatives, so does this mean that now you don't have any contact with the Arunga
I have
side
contact
of the
with
family?
the mother.
Yeah.
I'm in touch with the mother.
Oh, she does not blame you for what happened?
Look, she knows what happened.
Yeah.
Come on. We ended up on the same bandwagon with her. Esther rejected her as much as she rejected me. So we began to discuss this thing and we said, you know what? This thing is actually beyond us. But before, she was blaming me.
Yeah.
And when she saw the court cases and she saw exactly what was going on and even my findings about Quincy, she said, okay, it appears as if we are victims of the same guy. You see?
Yeah.
So even before Esther left, before this matter was thrown out of court, I met Esther's mom very many times. She used to come to court, and Esther didn't want to talk to her, but I was talking to her. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't think there's any bad blood between me and the mother at all. If there was, she would tell me.
Yeah.
Because we've met several times. I've not met the father since.
Yeah.
I only met the father once when Esther introduced me to her in their house in Kilimani. That was the only time I ever met the father. From that time, I never met him again. Yeah.
But as a father of a daughter, you understand why maybe he might have misplaced anger towards you, but you understand like the way fathers protect their daughters?
Yeah, you got to protect your daughter intelligently because he exacerbated the situation. the way he acted, cemented the relationship rather than rescuing. Yeah, if your daughter is 32, please step back. Yeah. I think he acted foolishly. That I will say openly. It was foolish to try to control the life of a 32-year-old woman who was living on her own. You cannot micromanage your child forever. If the girl was 17, or let's even say 18, or let's even say she was still in university, I would understand. But the way they acted made the situation worse. And they didn't listen to my wife's advice, who was a woman who has emotion and intuition. She said, leave her alone. She'll see the guy is bad all by herself. She will leave him the way she's left many other people in the past. She was once in a relationship with a guy that would steal money from her purse and take her out using her own money. She also had a knack for bad boys. That much I'll tell you, She had this propensity for bad boys.
Yeah, happens, I guess.
Yeah. And it's her choice. Really, if you like bad boys, who am I to tell you no? So the fact that she was associated with me is not a reason for anybody to think that I participated in messing up her life. If you are going to fail in this life, it doesn't matter if the Pope lays hands on you. You will fail until you make up your mind to start doing those things that make people succeed. Didn't people think I'd fail? Why is it that I'm still successful? And why is it that having been investigated more than any other preacher in this country, I don't know any preacher, if they're there, they should talk to me, who's been investigated. They investigated my finances. They froze my finances. They found my books were clean, properly audited. They investigated all my businesses, all my music, everything I did, my travelings. They looked at my documents. Not one wrong thing was found. You think about that. And it's not like I'm a perfect guy. Yeah?
And also as a career coach, and then maybe talking about water. From that experience, did water just die, or water still exists?
It's still there. It exists.
And do you now talk to new couples about some red flags? Because I feel like separating someone from their family should be a red flag, making them quit their jobs, like all those things that Quincy did.
Of course, I used to teach those things even then. I talked to Esther about those things. Even then, she didn't listen. It's as simple as that. So there's no way I can teach people to succeed, and so many people have succeeded here and abroad, and then at the same time ignore red flags. I talk about them even now on my social media platform. I have over 400 videos on YouTube that just talk about marriage, relationships. That's 400 hours, 1 hour videos. Can you imagine that? I have over 900 hours on YouTube just talking about religion, the Christian faith, family. We are strong when it comes to family. And then some people have erroneously associated me with Esther as if we were married. You see, people who don't do research, that's my cousin, surely. You know? Some people think I'm Quincy. I've seen that on social media, you know.
Okay.
I think a lot of our people are narrow-minded, and I think they just need to read and study. When people reach such conclusions, then they can also reach conclusions about their own lives in a way that will mess themselves up in the future because of lack of proper research. I'm a public person. My Twitter handle is known. I'm on Facebook every single day. I'm on TikTok, name it, social media. I'm all over. If somebody really wants to talk to me, I'm accessible. My address is known. Even my residence is known. Do you see? There's nothing to hide. You see?
Oh, okay. So you said your cousins on the paternal side, on the father side?
Paternal side.
So who is related? Who and who?
The father.
The father and your father?
And my grandfather.
Oh, and your grandfather. Oh, okay.
In fact, they are neighboring. They neighbor our upcountry home.
Wow. So so the damage that Quincy did was more than just her life. It was even family. He messed up with those guys were angry with me for a long time. They were angry with me. They thought, this is your relative. Why do you go messing up your relative? But did I? That's the question. Did I? If somebody chooses to marry a thug, am I the one who got married? Was that my relationship? And as a preacher, do I have the right to control what somebody marries or who somebody marries? They could marry a tree, you know? And they said, oh, you told her to break off from Wilson to marry this fellow. No, I never did that. It's contrary
to our policy in counseling to matchmake anyone.
Oh, okay.
It is contrary to our policy to tell somebody to break up with anyone to marry someone else. We don't do that. We've never done it. How come others are not coming up to say the same thing? Why is it just this one girl? Have people ever thought that way? That if this man acts this way, there should be some form of a replica, you know?
Yeah, pattern.
A pattern.
Yeah.
Why is it just one woman? Where is the second, third, fourth, fifth? Yeah? If you look at some people who are being indicted by government, you'll find evidence against them is replicable. There's a pattern. This guy acts like this. So if one marriage fails, is it that all marriages have failed just because she was popular and she was a news anchor? How many news anchors have had their marriages fail since then? Yeah, some of who came to me for a while during Esther's time. Yeah, there are people whose marriages have failed and they are news anchors. People have divorced ever since. Yeah. So if this were the case, let's make that assumption. This were the case. We brainwash people, we are a cult, and we mess up people's careers to induct them into a cult. If this was the case, I need to be told the second after Esther, the third, the fourth, the fifth. And I need to be shown investigations by this wonderful, highly trained. By the way, the guy who was leading investigation against me was the head of serious crimes unit at DCI. He's, at the same time, he was investigating the Julia Ward case. So that's the guy who was assigned to me. A competent fellow. Yeah? If he couldn't find anything, somebody would say, oh, maybe you used your money to bribe your way and all that stuff. Yeah?
And talking of money.
Yes.
During that period,
Yeah.
you used to live in Runda, yes?
Yes.
Right now you're in a very, beautiful place in Karen.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, where did this money come from? The finger of God? You playing your saxophone? Because now you said they had to investigate the money.
They investigated my money.
Yeah.
All my money came from music.
Okay.
I ran a music college called Jetha House of Music.
Oh, okay.
Which is a very successful college that trains highly competitive music students from children all the way to adults. In fact, just this year, when we did the Young Musicians competition in musical instrument, our school produced the first, second, and third best in East Africa. Our student was the first Kenyan to be on the Dean's list at Berkeley University. Our student, a Jetha House student who went to Berkeley University. So a very successful institution. Apart from running that institution, I'm a performer. Yeah? Jazz is an expensive thing. I play jazz. When I see people talking about my music on social media, I laugh at them.
Yeah.
Because that's my expertise. Yeah, I'm extremely good at it.
Yeah.
And I make a lot of money from it. So the opinion of the people that were talking, I looked at them and thought, this one can't afford a ticket to my show. So totally inconsequential. The people who appreciate my music can afford $200 per ticket, $300 per ticket to attend my shows. Do you see? So I've made money as a jazz musician, traveled all over the world, played in the Yuma Sekelas, big people. In different nations of the world, made lots of money from performance. I've made much more money from teaching, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's much more money in teaching than in performance because it's consistent.
Yeah, consistent.
Performance is sometimes you can perform for 6 months and you're quiet for 6 months. But teaching is consistent. Apart from that, I'm in real estate, large-scale real estate. How did I get into real estate? I was trained by my father-in-law for 3 years. And as he trained me and I began to help him out with his businesses, I became his business partner.
Oh.
Yeah. So I became his business partner. He was a great real estate guru with lots of land across the country. So we became business partners, became a shareholder in some of those businesses, especially because now I was his son-in-law.
Yeah.
And he trusted me and trained me. I didn't know anything about real estate. I was a musician. Successful, but nothing about real estate. But for 3 years he trained me. He died 2 years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
But the estate is running well. So I'm so grateful that he could take me in and teach me. So now we're in large-scale real estate. Yeah. I have 10 published books. If you go to my website, you'll find the books there. So I have a lot that's going that most people might not know about.
Yeah.
I have never asked for money as a preacher. I don't take money unless people voluntarily give it to me.
Yeah.
Go to my Facebook page, go to my YouTube page, I preach. Yeah. By the way, after COVID, I've not reopened physical church.
Yeah.
I used to run physical church, but after COVID, because people had to do this social distancing, I decided to do what you do.
Yeah.
I decided to do online, and it worked much better. So with very little equipment, I'm in 39 countries of the world. If you look at my preachings, I never asked for money from anybody.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I'm contributing to the lives of people. But there's nothing wrong with collecting tithes and offerings. It's not illegal.
Yeah.
I don't ask for it. But if somebody wants to give to me, they're free to do so. So I've never, ever made money from church. I've never earned a single dime from church. Yeah.
Okay. So when talking about jazz, after how long did you start performing out, like after you left Starehe? Because at Starehe, that's where you mastered the saxophone, no?